What do the Muzaffarnagar riots teach us about ourselves as a country, as a polity? It has been widely argued by political scientists that as India grows, as the economy grows, as incomes rise, and as governance becomes the cornerstone for people either winning or losing elections, the politics of identity and the politics of religion will have diminished results. So why should it be that politicians remain so invested in actually fomenting communal trouble? Because after all, that's what's happened in UP. Let's take you now to our special focus on the buck stops here. We thought modern India was moving slowly but surely into post-riots phase. Does Muzaffarnagar challenge our assumptions, or are we being too simplistic in questioning political theory, especially the relationship between growing income, a notion of modernity, and diminishing communal violence? Let's introduce our panel tonight. Joining us tonight from the United States of America, from Brown University in Providence, is Ashutosh Varshney, one of those who has argued that there is a connection between rising incomes and declining rates of communal violence. Also joining us tonight, Yogendra Yadav, one of our best-known psephologists, political analyst, now a politician with the Aam Aadmi Party. With us in the studio, the ever-incisive Swapan Das Gupta, one of our best-known commentators. And also joining us is a well-known historian and analyst, Professor Irfan Habib. Ashutosh Varshney, I'd like to start with you. It was in one of your columns that you first made the argument, and it's an argument that has actually been agreed to by many other commentators as well, where you basically said that riots will increasingly belong to India's past and not to India's future. The argument, of course, that you made was that riots were often a consequence of how economies and societies were organized, but also that they had a direct linkage with incomes. And as India's incomes grew, there would be a decline in communal tension. How much of Muzaffarnagar breaks the script that many political theorists, in a sense, have endorsed?
Yes, Muzaffarnagar breaks the script, Barkha, and it's terrifying. At least a little now. If riots spread further, it will be truly terrifying, because for 10 years now, India has followed the larger theoretical comparative script that we know to be associated with riots, namely that higher levels of income, riots do decline, the intensity declines, the incidence declines. So as of now, we have only one big riot in Muzaffarnagar. So one big riot does not undermine a theory, a larger theoretical claim, but it is terrifying because if it does spread, of course, the less important question is the theory, more important question is what will happen to human beings. And typically when a well-established theory is undermined, it is because, typically in the case of riots, it's because political leaders, political parties, for a whole variety of reasons, find it convenient to polarize to extract political advantage or electoral advantage.
But the question then, and let me take this to Swapan, would be why are political parties still invested in fomenting communal tensions? And Swapan, surely that should be the question that should concern us, because after all, there was a time when the politics of polarization yielded a certain result. There are inflection points in history where there are perceived sets of discrimination, real or imagined, and identity politics tends to work much better in that backdrop. It has mostly been argued here that given the phase that India is entering, given the emergence of young voters, given the emergence of the urban voter, this should matter less and less. Why are all political parties, and I think this is across the board, the politics of polarization that we've seen UP's parties all playing, why do they still believe there are political gains here?
You see, let's begin with what Ashu had said.
Yeah.
And I think by and large, what has happened in Muzaffarnagar does not necessarily discredit what he wrote very lucidly in his book that a greater degree of civic and economic engagement normally tends to promote amity and breaks down pre-existing fault lines. I think Muzaffarnagar, in a sense, is an aberration, but the danger of Muzaffarnagar is that it comes in the backdrop of mounting communal tensions in the whole of Uttar Pradesh. There have been minor incidents all the time throughout this last 1.5 years. And the fact that it coincides almost entirely with the assumption of power of Akhilesh Yadav, I don't think we should lose sight of that. Mayawati may have been responsible for a lot of things, not least corruption.
But there were no communal riots on her watch.
There were no communal riots on her watch.
Yeah.
And where we've seen in India communal riots actually happening, the last major one was actually in Kokrajhar, in Assam, where there's a different, you can call it communal, you can call it ethnic tensions. So by and large, this theory that suddenly we are in the midst of another communal explosion, I do not buy it. But I would tend to agree that there are certain specific features about Uttar Pradesh at this time which has enabled a new wave of communal antagonism to resurface.
Oh, is only Akhilesh Yadav answerable for that? Why should a BJP, where a prime ministerial candidate says his election is going to be about governance, why should the BJP have an Uma Bharti leading legislators defying arrest?
I don't think Uma Bharti's role today is on the question of selective indignation as far as the...
So the fact that no SP
exactly,
arrests, no Azam Khan...
Exactly. That's precisely the point. But I think you kept on harping, and I heard your interview with Uma Bharti, and you kept on harping on the fact that it is being provocative. It is being provocative.
Because isn't it?
I find something equally more provocative.
Just
let me finish. I find equally more provocative the statement made by Jairam Ramesh today saying that Muzaffarnagar is actually only a trailer. Now, if you think what Uma Bharti has said is warrants condemnation, I don't see how you can spare someone like Jairam Ramesh sitting in a responsible position and raising these alarmist concerns. Because to my mind, it's precisely that. When people feel that there is not enough justice, when there is selective indignation, that what you call vote bank politics, that's only when existing tensions such as a boy whistling at a girl, making wolf calls, or some sort of what we call eve teasing, very unfortunate expression, I don't like it, but that erupts into a major conflagration of this nature. Why? Because there have been certain other things which have been working in people's minds.
Okay.